Ella, Northampton, June 29, 2008. Beyond wildest dreams, Aziz said strange things happened to people when they were ready for the unusual and unexpected. But not a single bone in Ella's body was ready for the one strange thing that happened this week. Aziz Jet Jahra came to Boston to see her. It was Sunday evening. The Rubinstone had just sat down to eat when Ella noticed a text message on her cell phone. Assuming that it must be from someone at the Fusion Cooking Club, she didn't hurry to check it. Instead, she served the evening specialty, honey roasted duck with sauteed potatoes and caramelized onions on the bed of brown rice. When she placed the duck on the table, everyone perked up. Even Jeanette, who was depressed after seeing Scott with his new girlfriend and realizing she still loved him, seemed ravenous. It was a long, linguined dinner, peppered with good wine and usual talk. Ella was fully engaged with every conversation at the table. With her husband, she discussed having the gazebo repainted a bright blue. With Jeanette, she chatted about her busy schedule at college. And with the twins, she talked about the renting some new DVDs, including the latest Pirates of the Caribbean. Only after she had placed the dirty dishes in the dishwasher and served the white chocolate cream brulee did it occur to her to check the message on her cell phone. Hi Ella, I am in Boston on an assignment for Smithsonian magazine. Just got off the plane. Would you like to meet? I am staying at the Onyx and would love to see you, Aziz. Ella put the phone away and took her place at the dinner table for dessert, feeling slightly dizzy. You got a message? David asked, raising his head from his palette. Yes, it's from Michelle, Ella answered without a moment's hesitation. Turning his anguished face away, David dabbed his mouth and then, with amazing slowness and precision, folded his napkin into a perfect square. I see, he said when he was done. Ella knew that her husband didn't believe her, not in the least, and yet she also felt she had to stick with her story, not to convince her husband or deceive her children, but for herself, to make it possible for her to take the one step from this house to Aziz's hotel. So she continued, measuring each word. She called to tell me there is going to be a meeting tomorrow morning at the agency to discuss next year's catalog. She wants me to join them. Well, you should go then, said David, with a flicker in his eyes that indicated he, too, was in the game. Why don't I give you a ride in the morning and we could go there together? I could reschedule a few appointments. Ella stared at her husband, aghast. What was he trying to do? Did he want to make a scene in front of the kids? That would be lovely, she said, forcing herself to smile. But we were going to need to leave the house before 7 a.m. Michelle says she wants to talk to me in private before others join in. Oh, forget it then, Orly chimed in, knowing how much her father detested waking up early. Daddy could not get up in time. Now Ella and David looked at each other, looking into a level gaze over the heads of their children, each waiting for the other one to make the first move. That's true, David conceded finally. Ella nodded. with relief, though she felt a slight flush of shame at her audacity because at that moment she had another idea, a bolder one. Yes, it is awful early, in fact, she said. Why don't I go now? The thought of going to Boston tomorrow morning and having breakfast with Aziz was enough to make her heart beat faster. Yet she wanted to see Aziz right away, now rather than tomorrow, which all of a sudden felt too far away. It was almost a 2-hour drive from her house to Boston. But she didn't mind. He had come all the way from Amsterdam. For her, she could certainly drive 2 hours. I could be in Boston in 2 hours, before 10. The tomorrow, and I could be at the agency early enough to see Michelle before the meeting. A shadow of agony crossed David's face. It seemed an eternity before he could say anything. In that long moment, his eyes were the eyes of a man who had neither the strength nor the emotion left in him to stop his wife from going to another man. I can drive to Boston tonight and stay in our apartment, Ella said, seemingly to her children, but in truth only to David. That was her way of assuring her husband there would be no physical contact between her and whomever he assumed she was going to meet. David rose from his chair with a glass of wine in his hand, giving a sweeping gesture in the direction of the door. He smiled at Ella with assurance and added a bit too eagerly, "All right, honey, if that's what you want, you should go now." "But, Mom, I thought you were going to help me with math this evening," Ovi objected. Ella felt her face burn. "I know, dear. Why don't we do that tomorrow?" "Okay, let her go." Orly turned to her brother teasingly. "You don't need your mama by your side all the time when you are going grow up, right?" Ovi frowned but said nothing further. Orly was supportive. Ginny didn't care one way or the other. And just like that, Ella grabbed her cell phone and dashed upstairs. As soon as she closed the bedroom door, she threw herself onto the bed and text messaged Aziz, "I can't believe you are here. I will be at the Onyx in 2 hours." She stared at her phone in growing panic as he watched her message being sent. What was she doing? But there was no time to think. If she was going to regret this evening, which she suspected she might, she could regret it later. Now she needed to hurry. It took her 20 minutes to jump into the shower, blow dry her hair, brush her teeth, choose a dress, take it off, try another dress, then another, comb her hair, put on some makeup, look for the small earrings Grandma Ruth had given her on her 18th birthday, and change her dress again. Taking in a deep breath, she put on some perfume, Eternity by Calvin Klein. The bottle had been waiting in the bathroom cabinet for ages. David had never been fond of perfume. He said women should smell like women, not like vanilla beans or cinnamon sticks. But a European man might have a different take on this. Ella assumed. Wasn't perfume a big thing in Europe? When she was done, she inspected the women in the mirror. Why hadn't he told her he was coming? If she would know, she would have gone to a hairdresser, gotten a manicure, had a facial, and perhaps tried a new hairstyle. What if Aziz didn't like her? What if there was no chemistry between them, and he regretted coming all the way to Boston? All at once, she came to her senses. Why did she wanted to change her looks? What differences would it make whether there was no chemistry between them? Any adventure with this man was bound to be ephemeral. She had a family, she had a life. Her past was here, and so was her future. Annoyed with herself for indulging in such unlikely scenarios, she closed down her mind, which always proved easier. At 7:15, Ella kissed her children good night and left the house. David was nowhere to be seen. As she walked toward her car, jingling her keys to the apartment in Boston in her hand, her mind was still numb, but her heart raced. Part 5. The Void. The things that are present through their absence. Sultan Walid, Konya, July 1246. Breathing with difficulty and barely able to stand straight, my father came to my room, looking like a shadow of a man he used to be. There were bags under her eyes, dark and ominous, as if he had stayed awake all night. But what surprised me most was that his beard had gone white. "My son, help me," he said in a voice that didn't sound like him. I ran to him and grabbed his arm. "Anything, father, just ask for it." I was silent for a minute, as though crushed under the weight of what he was going to say. "Shams is gone. He has left me." For the briefest moment, I was awash with confusion and a strange sense of relief. But of that I said nothing. Sad and shocked though I was, it was occurred to me that this could be for the best. Wouldn't life be easier and more tranquil now? My father had gained many enemies lately, all because of Shams. I wanted things to get back to how they were before he came. Could Aladdin go be right? Were we all better off without Shams? "Don't forget how much he means to me," my father said as if he sensed my thoughts. "He and I are one, the same moons as a bright and a dark side. Shams is my unruly side." I nodded, feeling ashamed. My heart sank. My father didn't have to say more. I had never seen so much suffering in a man's eye. My tongue felt heavy in my mouth. I couldn't speak for a while. "I want you to find Shams. That is, of course, if he wants to be found. Bring him back. Tell him how my heart aches." My father's voice dropped to whisper. "Tell him his absence is killing me." I promised him I would bring Shams back. His hand gripped mine and squeezed it with such gratitude that I had to aver my gaze, for I didn't want him to see the indecision in my eyes. I spent the whole week roaming the streets of Konya, hoping to trace the footsteps of Shams. By this time, everyone in the town had heard he had disappeared, and there was much speculation as to his whereabouts. I met a leper who loved Shams immensely. He directed me to many desperate and unfortunate people whom the wandering dervish had helped. I never knew there were so many who loved Shams, since they were the kind of people who had been invisible to me till now. One evening I came home feeling tired and disoriented. Kira brought me a bowl of rice pudding, fragrant with the essence of roses. She sat down next to me and watched me eat, her smile framed by crescents of anguish. I couldn't help noticing how much she had aged this past year. "I heard you were trying to bring Shams back. Do you know where he has gone?" she asked. There are rumors he might have gone to Damascus, but I also heard people say he headed to Isfahan, Cairo, or even Tabriz, the city of his birth. We need to check them all. I will go to Damascus. Some of my father's disciples will go to the other three cities. A solemn expression crossed Kira's face, and she murmured as though thinking aloud. Maulana was right in verses. They are beautiful. Sham's absence is turning him into a poet. Dropping her gaze to the Persian carpet, her cheeks moist, her round mouth pouting, Kira sighed and then she recited the following. I have seen the king with a face of glory, he who is the eye and the sun of heaven. There was something in the air now that wasn't there a moment ago. I could see that Kira was torn deep inside. One had only to look at her face to understand how it pained her to watch her husband suffer. She was ready to do anything in her power just to see him smile again. And yet, she was equally relieved, almost glad to have finally gotten rid of Shams. What if I cannot find him? I heard myself ask. Then there won't be much to do. We will continue with our lives as before. She remarked, a sparkle of hope flickering in her eyes. At that moment, I understood in all clarity and beyond doubt what she insinuated. I didn't have to find Shams off the bridge. I didn't even have to go to Damascus. I could leave Konya tomorrow, wander for a while, find myself a nice roadside inn to stay at, and come back a few weeks later, pretending to have looked for Shams everywhere. My father would trust my word and the subject would drop forever. Perhaps that would be best not only for Kira and Aladdin, who had always been suspicious of Shams, but also for my father's students and disciples, and even for me. Kira, I said, what shall I do? And these women who had converted to Islam to marry my father, who had been a wonderful mother to me and my brother, and who loved her husband so much, she memorized the poem he wrote for someone else, gave me pained look and said nothing. Suddenly, she had no more words inside her. I had to find the answer for myself. Rumi, Konya, August 1246. Barren is the world, devoid of sun, since Shams is gone. This city is a sad, cold place, and my soul is empty. I can't sleep at night, and during the day I only wander around. I am here, and I am not here, a ghost among people. I can't help feeling cross at everyone. How can they go on living their lives as if nothing has changed? How can life be the same without Shams of the bridge? Every day from dusk to dawn, I sit in the library on my own and think of nothing but Shams. I remember what he, with a touch of harshness in his voice, had once told me. Someday you will be the voice of love. I don't know about that, but it is true that I find silence painful these days. Words give me openings to break through the darkness in my heart. This was what Shams had wanted all along, wasn't it? To make a poet out of me? Life is about perfection. Every incident that happened, no matter how colossal or small, and every hardship that we endure is an aspect of a divine plan that works to that end. Struggle is intrinsic to being human. That's why it is said in the Quran, certainly we will show our ways to those who struggle. on our way. There is no such thing as coincidence in God's scheme. And it was no coincidence that Shams of the Bridge crossed my path on that day in October, almost 2 years ago. I didn't come to you because of this wine, Shams had said. And then he had told me a story. Once there was a Sufi master who was so knowledgeable that he had been given the breath of Jesus. He had only one student, and he was quite happy with what he was given. But his disciples was of a different mind. In his desire to see everyone else marvel at the power of his master, he kept begging him to take on more followers. "All right," the master finally agreed. "If it will make you happy, I will do as you say." They went to the market that day. In one of the stalls, there were bird-shaped candles. As soon as Master blew open them, the birds came alive and flew away with the wine. Speechless, the town people immediately gathered around him with admiration. From that day on, everyone in town was singing the master's praises. Soon there was so many followers and admirers around him, and his old disciples couldn't see him much anymore. "Oh, master, I was wrong. It was much better in the old days," the disciple moaned firmly. "Do something, make them all go away, please." "All right, if it will make you happy, I will shoo them away." The next day, while he was preaching, the master broke wine. His followers were appalled. One by one, they turned and walked away from him. Only his old disciple remained. "Why didn't you leave with the others?" the master asked. And the disciple answered, "I didn't come to you because of the first wine, nor would I leave you because of the last. Everything Shams did, he did for my perfection. This is what the townspeople could never understand." Shams deliberately fanned and flames of gossip, touched new nerves, and spoke words that sounded like blasphemy to ordinary ears, shocking and provoking people, even those who loved him. He threw my books into water, forcing me to unlearn all that I knew. Though everyone had heard that he was critical of sheikhs and scholars, very few people knew how capable of tafsir he was. Shams had deep knowledge in alchemy, astrology, astronomy, theology, philosophy, and logic, but he kept his knowledge hidden from ignorant eyes. Though he was a faqih, he acted as if he were fakir. He opened our doors to a prostitute and made us share our food with her. He sent me to the tavern and encouraged me to talk to donks. Once he made me beg across from the mosque where I used to preach, forcing me to put myself in the shoes of a leper beggar. He cut me off first from my admirers, then from the ruling elite, bringing me in touch with the common people. Thanks to him, I came to know persons I would have otherwise never met. In this belief that all idols that stood between the individual and God had to be demolished, including fame, wealth, rank, and even religion. Shams cut loose all the moorings that tied me to life as I knew it. Wherever he saw any kind of mental boundary, a prejudice, or a taboo, he took the bull by the horns and confronted it. For him, I went through trial and test, state and stages, catch, which made me look more deranged in the eyes of even my most loyal followers. Before I had plenty of admirers, now I have gotten rid of the need for an audience. Blow after blow, Shams managed to ruin my reputation. Because of him, I learned the value of madness and have come to know the taste of loneliness, helplessness, and slander, seclusion, and finally, heartbreak. Whatever you see as profitable, flee from it. Drink poison and pour away the water of life. Abandon security and stay in frightful places. Throw away reputation, become disgraced and shameless. At the end of the day, aren't we all put on trial? Every day, every passing minute, God asks us, do you remember the covenant we made before you were sent to this world? Do you understand your role in revealing my treasure? Most of the time, we are not ready to answer these questions. They are too frightening. But God is patient. He asks again and again. And if the heartache too, this part of a trial, my only wish to find Shams at the end of it, my books, sermons, family, wealth, or name, I am ready to give up anything and everything just to see his face one more time. The other day, Kara said I was turning into a poet, almost despite myself. Though I have never thought highly of poets, I wasn't surprised to hear that. At any other time, I might have objected what she said, but not anymore. My mouth is spewing out lines of verse constantly and involuntarily. And listening to them, one might conclude that I am becoming a poet indeed, the sultan of language. But the truth, in so far as I am able to tell, is that the poems do not belong to me. I am only a vehicle for letters that are placed in my mouth, like a pen that writes down the words. It is ordered to inscribe or a flute that plays the notes blown into it. I, too, am simply doing my part. Marvelous, son of the breach, where are you? Shams, Damascus, April 1247. By the time spring was in full swing in Damascus and 10 months had passed since my departure from Konya, Sultan Walid found me. Under a clear blue sky, I was playing chess with a Christian hermit named Francis. He was a man whose inner balance did not tilt easily, a man who knew the meaning of submission. And since Islam means the inner peace that comes from submission, to me, France was more Muslim than many who claim to be so far. For it is one of the 40 rules. Submission does not mean being weak or passive, for it leads to neither fatalism nor capitulation, just the opposite. True people resides in submission, a power that comes from within. Those who submit to the divine essence of life will live in unperturbed tranquility and peace even when the whole wide world goes through turbulence after turbulence. I moved my vizier in order to force Francis King to shift position. With a quick and brave decision, he moved his rook. I had begun to suspect I was going to lose this game when I lifted my head and came eye to eye with Sultan Walid. Nice to see you, I said. So you have decided to look for me after all. He gave me a rueful smile, then turned somber, surprised to hear that I was aware of the internal struggle he had been through. But being the honest man that he was, he didn't deny the truth. I spent some time wandering around instead of looking for you, but after a while, I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't bring myself to lie to my father. I came to Damascus and started looking for you, but you weren't easy to find. You are an honest man and a good son, I said. One day, soon you will be a great companion to your father. Sultan Walid shook his head dolefully. You are the one companion he needs. I want you to come back to Konya with me. My father needs you. Many things churned in my brain upon hearing this invitation, and none of them were clear at first. My nerves reacted with fear at the idea of going back to the place where I was clearly unwelcome. Don't listen to him. You are done with your mission. You don't have to return to Konya. Remember what Baba Zaman told you. It was too dangerous. If you go back to that town, you will never come again. I want to keep traveling the world, meet new people, and see new cities. I had liked Damascus too, and could easily stay here until next winter. Traveling to a new place often engendered a dreadful sense of loneliness and sadness in the soul of a man. But with God by my side, I was content and fulfilled in my solitude. Yet I know too well that my heart was in Konya. I missed Rumi so much that it was too painful even to utter his name. At the end of the day, what difference would it make which city I stayed in, as long as Rumi was not beside me? Wherever he lived, there was my Qibla. I moved my king on the chessboard. Francis' eye flew open as he detected the fatal position. But in chess, just as in life, there were moves that you made for the sake of winning, and there were moves you made because they were the right thing to do. Please come with me, implored Sultan Walid, interrupting my thoughts. The people who gossiped about you and treated you badly are remorseful. Everything will be better this time. I promise. My boy, you can't make such promises. I wanted to tell him, nobody can, but instead I nodded and said, I would like to watch the sunset in Damascus one more time. Tomorrow we can leave for Konya. Really? Thank you. Sultan Walid began with relief. You don't know how much this will mean to my father. I then turned to Francis, who was patiently waiting for me to return to the game. When he had full attention, an impish smile crept along his mind. Watch out, my friend, he said, his voice triumphant. Checkmate.